I've already said multiple times this offseason that I do trust my wide receiver talent analysis coming out of college more than I trust my running back talent analysis coming out of college. But one thing I've been wondering throughout the entire offseason is if Jeremiyah Love is more of an overhyped prospect than a lot of people are talking about, because I've been seeing him thrown into the Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott level prospect category, and I just don't know if I buy that. So really what I'm trying to do today is find out the truth of what Jeremiyah Love is as a prospect from a film perspective. So we're going to watch a bunch of Jeremiyah Love film today, and this is still a very new channel for Dynasty Fantasy Football, so please go down there, drop a like on the video, and subscribe to the channel to show your support. Now, the first thing that I want to start out by doing is getting into Jeremiyah Love's highlight tape. Now, as most of you know, if you watch in-depth film, highlight tapes are not really indicative of what a player really is. Those are, of course, going to be a player's best moments. You're never going to see their worst moments in certain games, which all players do have. And we'll cover some more game-specific film here a little bit later in the video, but right now, I just want to go through his highlights and identify whether or not he has the key factors that I look for in film when evaluating running backs. Obviously, one of those things is going to be vision. I need to see what his vision is and how creative he is at creating new holes for himself. I also want to see what his tackle breaking ability is and the pass catching ability as well. That shows the diversity of his game and if he is going to translate physically to the next level. And I just want to see how big he actually looks compared to everybody else in the game of football at the college level. So let's go ahead and jump right into his highlight tape. Okay, so right out of the gate, you could definitely see that the guy has enough lateral quickness to be able to make moves like that. And he definitely does look really big. Like, you could tell that this guy does have the size of a 3-down back right out of the gate. That does not take any guessing on anybody's part. Whether or not Jeremiyah Love has the size, that is not in question. Okay, so he's able to break the edge right there, makes a nice leap over a defender, so that shows plenty of athleticism and toughness. And I would say that that was a really nice play from Jeremiyah Love. Even though he didn't get in the end zone, I'm not going to hold that against him. Tackle breaking ability is still there. Definitely keeps the chains moving on most of his runs. Good route right there. Good cutback as well. Gets up the field for a first down. Nice play. Okay, that cutback ability was really nice, and this is probably one of my favorite plays we've seen so far. So Texas A&M was a very good team this year, and from a defensive perspective, I actually think that was one of their strengths. So what Jeremiyah Love does here, he makes a nice cutback up the middle of the field and then breaks a tackle for more yards right there. So once again, we've seen a couple things on display already from Jeremiyah Love. One of the things is the tackle breaking ability, and I believe he gets that from his size. I think we've also seen really good vision that would highlight some of those types of guys that we were discussing earlier. Bijan Robinson had great vision. Saquon Barkley had great vision. Ezekiel Elliott had great vision. So he is kind of looking like some of those prospects off the bat as far as essentials that you need to be a top tier 3-down back workhorse at the NFL level for fantasy football. We have seen enough of that, I would say. Okay, just a simple wheel route. He's able to take that for about a first down. I wouldn't say that from what we've seen so far in the highlight tape that he's like a tremendous receiving back who creates tons of space for himself, but I'm not going to hold it against him. He doesn't exactly need to be that. As long as he can basically show that he can handle checkdowns at the NFL level, he'll be able to come out with games where he has like 5 catches for 30 yards, and that's another 8 points in a full PPR format. So I don't necessarily need him to be a Jahmyr Gibbs level pass catching back or even a Bijan level pass catching back. What he's showing is enough for fantasy relevance. Very nice run, gets the edge very easily. Okay, he did show plenty of speed on that play. One of the questions I've had just off the bat with Jeremiyah Love is the speed element. I'm not sure how fast this guy really is. And even then, like, I still don't know how fast he really is, because that linebacker took a really bad angle to Jeremiyah Love. So I'm not going to sit here and say like Jeremiyah Love is blazing speed, but obviously he's got enough speed to get towards the edge. Good run. Okay, he's wide open there. There's really not much to evaluate there from a receiving talent perspective. Anytime a player gets schemed wide open like that, they're expected to catch that ball. And he almost dropped it. I mean, it wasn't the best pass. Like, he did a good job recovering, and he still got in the end zone, which is good. I wouldn't say that that's like one of those moments where you could look to and say, see, he's a really good receiving back. I think we need to see a little bit more from a route running perspective for me to consider him a really good receiving back. But again, doing what he needs to do from a receiving perspective, for fantasy purposes, I do think he's shown enough there to be fantasy relevant and to have some diversity to his game from a pass catching perspective. Takes the direct snap, makes a nice move, and he's just a big beast, honestly. That's one of the things that stands out so far is his size and his physicality. Very nice run. Very, very nice run. That's 3-down back stuff right there at the NFL level. I mean, he just breaks right through a really good defense at the college level. Like, he breaks right through that first and second level of the defense with ease. So, as far as the physicality, the vision, the size, like all of that stuff is there as far as a 3-down back goes in the NFL. That stuff is definitely there. I'm not debating that. Okay, this is a good play to highlight right here because Jeremiyah Love right here makes several good moves to create space and get to the edge on the outside. Now, I don't think, and I could be wrong, but like playing against a team like Purdue, it doesn't really show me that it like highlights tons of speed. He is able to beat everyone to the goal line. Like, I'm not trying to take that away from him. I'm still a little bit reluctant on how fast the guy actually is, but I think one of the things that's very clear watching Jeremiyah Love, he hasn't hit many big home run hits on these highlight films yet, but what we're seeing here is he's got enough vision to create a lot of space for himself. He's big, he's physical, and he's going to be one of those guys that I think can handle 20-plus carries on a per-game basis for several years in his NFL career. So I don't know about his speed quite yet, to be honest with you guys, but I do have a lot of confidence in what he looks like from a fantasy perspective as a 3-down back. Okay, so right here I think is an interesting play to watch. So he's split out wide in the slot against Arkansas's defense. And looks like what happens here is that originally there's either a safety or a linebacker on him, and then they fall down midway through his route. Like as he's breaking off his route to the corner, they just fall down. So he makes a good sideline grab, like shows good hands and everything like that. I still want to see him like break off a really nice route because I think that would really graduate him, in my opinion, two more of those elite guys that we were talking about, Saquon, Bijan, Ezekiel Elliott. I haven't seen that yet from Love, but again, I've seen enough from him to be able to say I think he'll be able to get several games where he gets like 5 catches for 40 yards and give you another 9 points to whatever he adds his rushing touchdown and rushing yards total. Okay, so I think we've seen enough of his highlight tape right here. So what I want to do next, I want to go through a couple games of Jeremiyah Love. So the first one that I want to get to is a game that he did very well in, which was against USC, where he had a monstrous day from a just college level perspective. Like, the numbers that he had in this game were absolutely ridiculous. 265 all-purpose yards. So what I want to do, I want to break down this film. Okay, so he's just darting through that defense right here. Let's see if he's able to break this off. So he did not get to the end zone in this one. This is kind of one of my concerns with Jeremiyah Love. I think what I'm seeing and what I'm trying to kind of show people here is that Jeremiyah Love has a lot of acceleration basically to get through a hole at the front of the defense. But I think when it comes to breaking off the big long runs, he starts to decelerate a little bit and lose a little bit of speed, allowing for a defensive back to catch up with him. And I think that stuff is kind of what separates a Bijan level player, a Saquon level player, a Zeke level player from a guy like Jeremiyah Love. I just don't really see that with Jeremiyah Love. I'm not taking anything away. This is a great play. Like, he just breaks right through the defense. And I think if he had that level of speed, I would consider him a Saquon, a Bijan, a Zeke level player. But let's keep watching, make sure I'm not missing anything. Again, we see Jeremiyah Love just toying with a softer defense. Obviously, USC is not known to have some terrific defense. So what he does here is he breaks through that defensive line with ease. That is no problem there. Finds the hole, breaks several tackles on his way to the end zone. That's stuff that's going to translate very well to the NFL level. Does a great job once again bursting through a big hole right there. Shows no hesitation, shows plenty of speed to break through that hole right there, and he breaks the tackle along the way. I mean, the guy physically, from a vision perspective, from a size perspective, I've got no questions on it. He just continues to show that. Okay, so that was obviously a very good game from Jeremiyah Love. He absolutely ripped apart USC's defense. Now I want to go to a game where he did not have nearly that level of success, which was against Miami's defense. And obviously, Miami's defense this year was probably the best in all of college football. I want to watch how he handles a really top-tier defense, an NFL caliber level defense. And from a statistical standpoint, he did not have his best game by far. So I want to see exactly what the film looks like in this particular game. So Jeremiyah Love, again, we saw this run at the beginning of the highlight film. A great leap right there and makes a big play. Doesn't get in the end zone, but really is a tremendous play. Okay, so he started out in the slot right here, came back on a motion to the backfield and took the handoff right here. There really wasn't much there. I think he did what he could. I don't really hold anything on that play against him. It doesn't look like the offensive line was able to hold that strong front seven for the Miami defense. I'm not going to blame Jeremiyah Love there. Now, here's another really nice run. I think that's a really excellent run. That defense is swarming him right out of the gate. You can see the offensive line was pulling to the left. Jeremiyah Love makes a really nice spin move and then creates more yardage for himself by barreling through a defensive back. Gets another 2 or 3 yards out of that move. So I think a very solid run here by Jeremiyah Love. I would have loved to have seen Jeremiyah Love cut back a little bit. I do think there was a little bit of cutback space if he was able to get around that edge rusher right there who was kind of clamping down on him. He just followed the blockers, which is what you're supposed to do. But I think, again, what kind of separates a guy like Bijan Robinson or a guy like Saquon Barkley is they're visionaries who can see, hey, this play broke down. I need to make something happen to get some positive yardage and not let this be a complete bust of a play. That's something that those types of guys had in college, and you could see that, and they've obviously translated that visionary style to the NFL level. I'm not seeing that with Jeremiyah Love. I'm not calling him a bad player. I'm just trying to establish whether this guy really is in the Bijan Saquon level prospect category or if he is a tier or two below them. And as of right now, I would be saying he's a tier below. Got what he could have right there. I don't think there's anything wrong with that run. He followed the block. He ended up just trying to take on the linebacker, and the linebacker was physical. Okay, I'm just going to highlight this right here. Obviously, there's no fantasy relevance to this, but this is a good sign, I think, for him being a 3-down back. It's moves like this, that chip that he made on that edge rusher right there, that are going to keep him on the field for sure in pass-catching down situations. You always see running backs with no pass blocking ability get taken off the field because they become liabilities when there needs to be extra protection. I don't think Jeremiyah Love will be a liability, and I don't think an NFL team will view him as a liability from a pass blocking perspective. So I think that was a good play there for Jeremiyah Love to highlight that he will be a 3-down back in the NFL, which is what we want. Okay, this is kind of what I'm talking about here. It's not that Jeremiyah Love made some sort of bad play and he missed a really good opportunity. It's more so the fact that against the best defense he played all year, he was really not able to get open on a designed route for him. This was not a check down situation. This was a designed play they were trying to get to Jeremiyah Love, and he was not able to break free from the chip right there from the corner and then from the linebacker who ultimately was tasked with covering him. I do think that's a little concerning because what you're going to see is him move up to the NFL level and not be able to dominate like he was doing against teams like Purdue. Miami's defense is a great tester as far as how he'll perform at the NFL level. I haven't been impressed with him from a pass catching perspective. Okay, this I actually feel like is a really important moment too. Once again, Miami's defense is probably the most accurate test of what an NFL defense will look like for Jeremiyah Love come 2026. What we're seeing here is a goal line carry for a guy I actually thought would be a shoo-in to get plenty of goal line opportunities and touchdowns at the NFL level. He was stood up on this play. Miami's defense really stood him up. He was not able to get the push. The offensive line, you could argue maybe they didn't do their jobs. I think they actually held up pretty well here. There was was a defender that shot the gap. Jeremiyah Love was not able to plow through him. I think, once again, it is a little concerning that against the best defense he faced all year, this was clearly his worst game by far. Once again, same thing. Now, this one, I would say this one was not as much on him because there were just free defenders right on him within a snap second of when the ball was snapped. I don't blame this one as much on Jeremiyah Love as I do on the first one because the offensive line here and the wide receivers, their assignments were not fulfilled. I don't blame Jeremiyah Love there. Okay, here's a nice check down type play. This is way different than what we saw on the designed route. This was a pure, simple check down right here that he was able to handle with grace. I think he did a very good job of creating some space for himself, making the first guy miss, getting some positive yardage. That is a good sign because you can tell that this guy, again, good pass blocker, won't get taken off the field in third down situations, gives himself opportunities to get checkdowns for more fantasy points. All right, so this was a good route right here. I think this was a solid route. This was definitely zone coverage. The linebacker had responsibility of him, but I think it was still a good route. Was able to catch the ball, then turn back inside, get up the field for a first down. That was probably his best receiving play of the game against Miami right here. Okay, design screen right here. Let's see what he does. Follows the blocks very well. Very nice body control right there. Leaps up. Probably shouldn't have done that. It didn't make a ton of sense to leap up that high. He had a guy coming at his feet, so he could have leapt a little bit, but not that high. Maintained good body control. Was able to get some positive yardage. It was a 3rd and long situation. Obviously, the defense was not caring if he got 10 yards on this play with 3rd and 21. I don't think that this is like some massive highlight reel right here, but he did follow his blocks very well, made some plays for positive yardage. Okay, so the reason I wanted to go through the highlight reel first, then a really good game of his, and then a not so good game was so we could get kind of a fuller picture. What I think we've established with Jeremiyah Love is from a size perspective, from a physicality perspective, he's going to make it as a 3-down back. He also has pass blocking ability and pass catching ability, particularly on checkdowns, which will add points in a positive direction for fantasy purposes. He will not be taken off the field on 3rd downs because he's not a liability, and he actually does have some positive plays in pass blocking situations. I also think from a vision perspective, he's good enough to consistently create space for himself. I have questions here with the breakaway speed of Jeremiyah Love, though. And I think that that is a category that separates him from guys like Saquon Barkley, from guys like Bijan Robinson, and guys like Ezekiel Elliott. I also have some questions with his ability as a pass-catching running back, and I don't think he's a visionary. And the reason I say visionary is because with guys like Bijan and guys like Saquon, they're able to create something out of nothing. Basically, the field and the way the defense playing, they're like artists. They're able to be like, I'm going to manipulate all the defense to this side, then I'm going to cut back, use my speed to completely turn this play around and get really positive yardage. I didn't see that from Jeremiyah Love. And once again, I think I got to nitpick here and say I don't see Jeremiyah Love as one of those level prospects. Is he a very good prospect? Absolutely. That was never in question in this video. The purpose of this video was to determine whether or not he is the clear-cut 101 in this rookie draft, and if you should value him as a Bijan Robinson right now in Dynasty, and I don't think he's either of those. Probably going to be the 1-on-1 in most drafts. I think Jordan Tyson could throw his name in the ring, but overall right here, what we've established is he's a great prospect. I would not say that he's super great like a Bijan Robinson, a Saquon Barkley, or an Ezekiel Elliott when he was coming out of Ohio State, because what we saw from those guys against any opponent, their best opponent, they were making plays. In that Miami game against a NFL caliber defense, you saw weaknesses there from Jeremiyah Love's game. Not trying to take anything away from him. I just think I wanted to add some context to his draft capital and where people value him right now in Dynasty. But ultimately, you let me know what you think of Jeremiyah Love as a prospect in the comments below. And if you want to see the sell high trade targets that you need to be sending away this offseason, click on this video right here.